R.357. For those needing a quick refresher, here's a cheat sheet with all the key stats. Feel free to pause or screenshot if you like. Few weapons balance punishment and reward quite like the R.357. Every time I pick it up, I fall into the same cycle. I watch a montage of someone popping off with it, get hyped to try it myself, and then flop. Hard. But that's the charm of the R.357. Frustrating yet brutally rewarding when mastered. So why do we keep this weapon at an arm's length? What makes it such a paradox? Today we're diving into the philosophy behind the R.357. Think of this as both a refresher on its fundamentals and a guide to the mentality that makes it deadly, ensuring that the next time you pick it up, you'll have everything you need to wield it to its fullest potential. Looking back at its balanced history, the R.357 has trended upward, improved range damage, tighter hipfire and aim down sight spread, and since Season 4, the option to equip a sight for a cleaner picture. But enough about history, let's hop into the firing range. True to its roots, the R.357 carries 6 rounds per magazine, each dealing a base damage of 74. Here's the damage breakdown against every archetype. A light requires 3 body shots, a medium 4, and a heavy 5. Where the weapon really shines is headshot damage. With a 200% multiplier, rare among its roster, its potential skyrockets. Not only that, the R.357 headshot damage ranks as the 4th highest in the finals, beaten by the light's bow, the throwing knives, and the sniper rifle SR-84, out of which 2 are completely projectile based and they all share a slower firing rate compared to the revolver, making this gun land in a very unique spot. Securing just 1 headshot in any duel shaves a bullet off your time to kill, regardless of enemy archetype. 1 bullet might not sound like much at first glance, but I'll let the footage speak for itself. Moving on to the effective range, the damage stays consistent up to 27.5 meters, after which it begins to fall off, from 74 body shot damage down to 44 beyond 40 meters, or from 148 to around 89 damage for headshots. So what is the R.357 telling us? Stay relatively close, do not miss, and if you hit a headshot, you'll be generously rewarded. Having all this theoretical information, I think it's time to move on to practice. And for that matter, the fitting question here is, how do we use the R.357? Coming back to this weapon time and time again, I've come to really observe that the common denominator when starting out or warming up with this gun is accepting defeat first. One thing the R.357 shares with its peers, more notably with the Cerberus from my previous video, is the low magazine capacity combined with tremendous damage potential per shot. And the silver lining here is patience. If you're just starting out with this revolving brutalizer or are planning to pick it up from a long hiatus, the following might surprise you, but I feel like in my case it helped me tremendously. Since there are too few bullets to shoot and a reload time that is as punishing as any other, there isn't really much room for error. Therefore, one must adjust their expectations. When starting out or coming back to the R.357, prioritize hitting your shots over surviving first. That does not mean you should completely neglect your survival or go head first into every fight. But in a scenario you know you're fully committed to, say a 1v1, I strongly suggest you focus on hitting your shots and disregarding the fact that you might lose the fight. While a bit odd sounding, this might foster the right mindset long term and help you enforce a habit of calm and focus that forces you to push through the first barrier that is gatekeeping you from progressing with this weapon, which is frustration. And frustration as such, with the R.357, fosters a tighter grip on the aim, impatiently placed shots, which in turn net a heavy cost on the experience. So keep in mind that as funny as it sounds, every shot is its own fight. And every successful hit is a fight won. Additionally, there is one key element to making the habit of hitting your shots that more effective, and it is very subtle: controlling your firing rate. As you will see in the following footage, the side-by-side comparison shows a slight difference between firing at max speed versus giving myself just enough time to confirm that the target is actually centered. While shooting at stationary targets, I find this becomes trivial, but when facing moving targets, the previously mentioned controlled firing rate helps a great deal at staying much more consistent when trying to hit your shots. Moving on to one of the most important pillars of the R.357, aim higher. Scoring headshots with the R.357, while significantly more difficult due to the limited mag size and slower firing rate compared to, say, an assault rifle, carry that much more weight with them. As shown previously, one scored headshot can drastically reduce the time to kill, bringing this weapon much farther in terms of TTK potential than its peers. Start out by practicing getting comfortable aiming for the body. Once you feel like you've gotten fairly consistent, challenge yourself to make a mental model of having scored at least one headshot per fight. And if that doesn't cover it, remember, when opening a fight on an unsuspecting enemy, you have zero excuses not to attempt getting a headshot. The last core principle to this mindset is respecting the weapon's range. And here, I feel like a strong question to tie into this is when to bring the R.357 with you. Here, we'll introduce the composition strategies that support this weapon, as well as the definitive role you might choose to enhance your contribution to the game while using the R.357. The very line at which you start receiving ever more present diminished returns is 27.5 meters. By design, the fact that your magazine carries a light load of rounds, it's not just the damage that gets weaker, but naturally, the targets get harder to hit. In turn meaning that any long-range weapon with higher magazine capacity and a scope heavily punishes the R.357 user for contesting long-range shots. Medium and close range are your bread and butter with this weapon, in which case the choices are very simple. If you're starting out and you want to test the waters with this gun, positioning yourself as a support role in the team with a healing beam might be a very good option, giving you the ability to contribute to the team even if it comes to a long-range standoff. While you can't provide much damage, you can still help with sustaining your team when it's needed most. If you want to give the R.357 a shot in a more aggressive role, the Dematerializer specialization is a good companion. Opening up pathways, surprise entry points, and angles all work in great favor for the R.357 when trying to get into its effective range. The potential of the R.357 gets amplified in a team composition that favors movement and medium range to close range weaponry. Any hard poke and long range composition will in turn force the player to make adjustments where you're either away from your teammates or exposed to contested ranges where the output of the gun is close to negligible. Maps that support this weapon most are the ones that cater to closed spaces with cover and open areas for medium range engagements, like Nozomi Citadel, Fortune Stadium, and Las Vegas. Maps like Kyoto, Seoul, Bernal force the user to be more creative and cautious in terms of approach. And with that, we conclude our exploration of the R.357. There's more to the R.357 than meets the eye, and even more than covered in this video, but I'll leave that for another time. Thank you sincerely if you watched this far. I hate to be cheesy, but I also have to extend my thanks to everyone that showed up in my last video and offered support. This opened up a new avenue for me in thinking that there's at least something right I'm doing with this. Know that you are immensely appreciated. And if you're a newcomer and would like to support me, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. If you have any suggestions on what I should cover next, feel free to leave a comment as well. My name is Raynar, and as always, I wish you a boatload of headshots with the R.357.